Just the two of us. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Just the two of us. Hey, you've got this part of the video. You've got the live unedited edition, Home Gadget Geeks, Thursday night. It's the 12th of January. It's 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone, 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific. If you got this any other time than that, you've got the recorded version, and that's okay. Hang tight. We're just in a little bit of pre-show. We'll get started here in a second. Jon Maddox from Channels is with us tonight, and he is going to wow us with all the great stuff that's going on at Channels. But first, Jon, you're not in your normal location where we don't want an address, but where are you coming in from tonight?
I'm coming live from Nags Head, North Carolina. It's in the Outer Banks area.
Wow.
On nice little island area off the coast of North Carolina.
Weather's okay tonight for you?
Oh gosh, it's like 60 degrees outside right now. It's nighttime. Nice. It was pretty warm in Richmond too. I drove down tonight and we came down, and it's blowing like 25 miles an hour right now, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, we just had a cold front. You're getting probably what came through last night here, although our temperatures dropped to about 25. So it was chilly. It was chilly throughout the day.
My friend who I'm here with, he was asking me where you guys were, and I said, I can't remember the state, but I do remember we usually do this in the winter, and they talk about snow enough that it sends shivers down my spine.
A little chilly. Omaha. We're in Omaha.
That's right. Omaha. That's right. Nebraska.
Omaha.
Nebraska.
Yeah. And so, it came through. It never got above 28 or something today, but
that's good for you guys.
That's the Midwest. Yeah, no, there's no snow on the ground, and it's not terrible. So, I mean, we had for Christmas. Did you guys go somewhere snowy for Christmas, or were you?
No, we were at home for Christmas, and it was, we got all that rain, but, luckily, it wasn't cold enough to get snow. I am not a fan of snow. I'm a fan of snow when I have things strapped to my feet. Yeah. But when I'm just at home and I have to worry about people hurting themselves or shoveling driveways, I'm not a fan of snow. So no snow. And after Christmas, we went to Florida, so no snow there either.
Oh, nice. Well, that's it. Whereabouts in Florida?
We went to Orlando. We took our oldest to Legoland, his life dream.
Oh,
that was his big Christmas present. So that was fun. We all had a good time at it. Legoland was surprisingly fun. They did a really good job with it.
Is that a place an adult can spend all day? Is it set up that way?
I don't know if an adult would, because when you're a parent, there's so many joys have been sucked out of you that having the kids is the only way to have joy again, right? As an adult. And so what I found neat about it was they just did such a good job with the IP. Like, they have so much intellectual property, and they did a good job with it. It was very spread around the park. There was a lot of little surprises. The park was well kept.
Okay.
The people there were really nice. We stayed at the Legoland Hotel. They were very nice. It was fun. Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's good. Yeah, we got a ton of snow. The most snow we've had in Christmas in maybe 10 years, probably.
Oh, wow.
Right before, and then it all melted off. Right. It was beautiful. So white Christmas, and then it all melted off a couple days after, and we're back to kind of normal winter weather, but it hasn't been bad. We always do a pour. What have you poured for yourself tonight?
Tarnished Truth, Virginia bourbon.
Nice. A local, right? Local for you in there, and you like it on the rocks?
It's ultra local. It's actually distilled in the town I grew up in, which is Virginia Beach.
Oh, nice.
Just about an hour north of here.
You mentioned to me you're kind of a Maker's guy, just on average. How does this compare to a Maker's?
It's pretty close.
Okay.
It's pretty close. But I don't drink a lot of bourbon to have like this big wide palate to know that things are going and shifting left and right.
Don't have to. Yeah. Don't have to. I mean, it should be what you like. I think the bourbon culture's gotten a little out of hand these days.
I mean, like everything has, whether it's coffee or anything like that. Like nerds are going to be nerds.
I watched some of those whiskey nerds, that are out there. There's whiskey and then insert whatever name that you want, your whiskey boss,
Oh yeah.
And and they're drinking some like $200 or $300 bottles of whiskey on a regular basis, and you're just like, well, I mean, that's nice every once in a while, but
I don't drink that much, so I could never really be all that interested in it.
I got I poured a 1792, which is a $30 bottle. It's pretty tasty. It's much like the Makers. It's not weeded. Makers would be weeded, but it's pretty delicious. And we've been working over the winter. We kind of been working on like, what's the sweet spot in there from 20 to 50? Like
Mm-hmm.
what can we get in there? Good value, not the cheapest, not maybe a Jim Beam or a Jack Daniels, although I just bought a Jack Daniels bonded, which is 100 proof, and well, I haven't tasted it yet, but it's supposed to be super good. So
There's something that I was getting for a little while. I'm literally looking up good cheap bourbon just to see if it pops up on like a
yeah,
list or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, that I think the price has gone up a little bit. This isn't it, but Four Roses is pretty good.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Fun
yeah,
fact:
yeah.
when I was at GitHub, we had we bought a bottle, or I'm sorry, a barrel
Mm-hmm.
of Four Roses, and
Mm-hmm.
they bottled it for us and put a special logo on it and stuff. It was
Yeah,
really
it's a good
cool.
way to do that. There's a lot of that going on right now. You can kind of
Uh-huh.
get a barrel pick.
Bullet's good. I like Bullet
Yep.
for just regular,
Yep. Yeah, 20
It's
to
not
30.
popping
That's in the
out.
20 to 30.
Uh-huh.
That's a good one.
Yep. Yeah, Bullet's really good. I would probably do Bullet more than other things. That
Yeah.
would be my that'd be like, I'm not getting Makers tonight. It's a special occasion. I'll get Bullet. But
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I don't know of any other better bourbons.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I told you and Uyghur, who Mike Uyghur, I got him kind of on to Jefferson's, and that's kind of our house bourbon. So we spend a lot of time. Smooth, easy to drink, very friendly to beginners
Yeah.
type thing. It's not like it's gonna, it's gonna kill you on the first pour. So
I found the name Eagle Rare.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Eagle Rare slots in pretty
Yeah.
nicely. It's
Yeah,
not too
that's a good one.
expensive.
No,
Yeah.
it's about a 50, 60.
Mhm.
Yeah, that Eagle Rare's gotten real popular. I think that's a Buffalo Trace property.
Yeah,
And
I think
yeah.
the price has gone up in the last like 4 years or
Yep,
so.
it
I think
has.
because when it was first like started getting on there, because I don't know about you guys, but we have ABC stores,
Yeah.
so we don't have liquor stores. So they've since made fancier ABC stores, which have a wider variety. But for a while, it was like, I hope you like flavored vodka because the only thing they have on the shelf is flavored vodka, which frankly isn't even responsible.
No. No.
But they've gotten better about it now.
It's too easy. Yeah, too easy. No, we had one of our local grocery stores open what they called wall-to-wall wine.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've half the store is wine, and then they've got the center section is beer, and then the whole other side of the store is the rest of the spirits. So scotch, whiskeys, gin, rum, mixers, right? Those kinds of things. And it's been nice because it has opened up the variety. We were kind of dependent upon the grocery store's liquor store section to be able to, and that's wasn't
so
bad.
Grocery stores can sell liquor, but like
they can
a retail store can't.
So like you can have a grocery store and they can have a liquor store, and they just have to be separated by a wall so that you can, but they could do both.
You didn't have specialty stores or anything?
No, we do have like just like liquor stores where you could go. It's all they carry. Nebraska is not too regulated.
Yeah, because we have just our ABC stores are just government. It's like the government sells it. That's it. We don't have it in grocery stores or anywhere.
Yeah, Bob says, you're right, Jim. Eagle Rare is a part of Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace, of course, has gotten super popular. They just fired their national distributor for shenanigans that were going on with the way they distributed their because it's gotten to be big business in the way.
Well, because here's the deal. When Pappy Van Winkle
yes
exploded because bourbon exploded, turns out you can't just make a new 13 and 21-year-old bourbon because the demand goes high. Right. So it's tough when you've got like longer age drinks. Like there's just nothing you can do. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, one of the interesting things is, of course, they've discovered now in Texas that they can, if they distill it down there and then age it, it'll age faster because the humidity, the heat, humidity.
Really?
Yeah. So a 3-year.
That's capitalism. That's capitalism.
3-year Texas bourbon is like a 5-year in other places, right? And of course, if you get a Scotch, that's like a 9-year, right? It just takes forever for those things to age in Scotland.
Are they labeling it that?
No, they're not talking about it that way, but you can get like a Belconis, which is I think they were just bought by DiPaggio. Anyways, they've kind of come on the scene, and they're doing 3 and 4 years, and some really, really tasty bourbons in there because the heat and cold cycle is so fast down there, and it's
Huh.
warmer. The the liquor distills, or not distills, but ages a lot better, a lot faster down there, I guess is what we can say. So yeah, and so Bob says, so on the equator, done in a month? Well, maybe not quite a month. Maybe not quite a month. But so there's some pretty good stuff coming out of Texas. Kentucky owns from the bourbon side of things, but there's been a movement for American whiskeys. Single malt, American single malt is going to become a category, its own category, much like bourbon is. American single malt is going to become its own category. So it'll be interesting to see. I just don't know how long this bourbon craze will go. I mean, all these things have cycles, right? You and I
We're
have
10
seen
years
these.
into it at
I
least
know.
already. So it's who
Yeah,
knows?
last 5 have been pretty nuts though. Like, you just
Yeah.
kind of go,
People
oh.
lined up waiting for drops.
Yeah, it's like
I
queuing
know.
up like they used to queue up for video games, releases and stuff like that. So super crazy. Well, John, thanks for coming on. Let me kick this thing off, and we'll actually deliver some tech related content. You got a
All
lot
right.
of stuff to share, so let me do that really quick. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 558, recorded on January 12th, 2023. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. And of course, we post a show. There'll be a few tonight. We post a show with some world-class show notes out at the AverageGuy.tv. Big thanks to Jay Franzi, who joined us last week. A fun conversation with Jay. I got to get him back a little more often. And so I appreciate Jay coming on as we talk about kind of the tech that's on your desk. And so we appreciate Jay coming out and doing that. And of course, big thanks to our Patreon subscribers who every single month make it happen here at the Average Guy Network. Appreciate you guys. If you want to join the team, head out to the AverageGuy.tv/Patreon. I got just one $5 plan if you want to join us out there, and appreciate it as well. Jon Maddox from Channels is back. John's a good friend of the show, and Jon, always great to see you. Welcome back to Home Gadget Geeks.
Thanks for having me.
How are you? Let's catch up with you a little bit. How are things in your world? We've had you on several times, so let's get to figure out what's going on with you.
It's good. We've been, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've got a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. How easy does that get?
It gets
Things
better.
are,
It does get better.
and we enjoy every second of it.
Yes.
Everything's been pretty good. Channels has been going well. The community's been growing and getting more helpful all the time. It's one of the things we enjoy almost, the most out of it is, hearing people use it, watching other people help other people use it. All that stuff. We had a pretty good year last year. We introduced a bunch of new stuff. We cleaned up a bunch of stuff, and we're, going at the pace we've always gone, which is not super fast, but just trying to make it as good as it can be while we listen to as many people that use it as possible.
Yeah. Well, listen, I got to thank you because I have not had to touch it once in the last maybe since the last time I had.
I wish everybody told us that.
Sarah, my wife, uses it. I mean, that's every night that's her TV. She uses it way more than I do. I'm a football guy, so we use it to stream football out to the deck in the fall, and I watch some sports on it from time to time. I record This Old House and some other things on it for me. But by far, my wife streams it the most, and not once have I had to do anything. So whatever you guys are doing,
I mean, we hear that a lot, and it's the case, and it's certainly the case for me. It's we put a lot of work into that, and a lot of it comes from our background and making sure that things are stable, and we also understand that, like, it's not a calculator, it's not a social network. It's TV. And as silly as it sounds, TV is really important infrastructure in a lot of people's houses. So it has to work, and it can't not work. So a lot of work has been put in to make sure that happens. And, things come up, but mostly it doesn't crash up for anybody.
Yeah.
Bugs are bugs, but, it works. And people love that about it. It's one of their favorite things. They say it all the time.
I think this year we moved the storage from because we're using it on an NVIDIA Shield and on Android TV. And I think I moved at some point early in the year, I moved the storage from a memory card to an actual SSD drive that's
Hmm.
embedded in a old Western Digital case. So I kind of cobbled the thing together and put it in there.
Hmm.
It's been working great. I haven't had to touch it. It's got plenty of space, plenty of room, does its thing, and works well. What if you think about the year in review, and you guys posted a year in review? By the way, let me remind for new listeners, maybe we have some folks who joined Home Gadget Geeks in the last year. Getchannels.com, and Channels is a DVR if you haven't caught up on that so far yet. It's how you watch TV, and lots of other. We're going to talk about some other features that you guys have added since that, but you check it out, Getchannels.com. What for you in the last year? What's been the most exciting thing on the radar? What have you enjoyed working with, and what are you excited about that you were able to add?
Well, I mean, it sounds boring, but it was really a lot of the refinements that we did to a lot of things. In 2021, this last November will be the 5th year that Channels as a DVR has existed, the DVR system. And for the first 4 years, we spent getting the most important features in there. And before we worked on some of the more snazzier fun features, we wanted to get the base layer down. And by 2021, we got the base layer down. So last year, or not 2022, but 2021, we got to really have fun with the features. We added virtual channels, we added channel collections, we added server side settings. And last year, we basically went and refined all of that stuff to make it even a little bit easier to build, make, or use. So we just had a lot of quality of life improvements. For example, channel collections is our way of letting you group channels together. When you're viewing the guide in channels, you have a way to pick sections, and each section has a different set of channels in it. When you first start using the app, we have pre-made sections for you for news, sports, kids, etc. And we use that based on what's currently airing and what their genres are, because channels don't really have genres. So with channel collections, we let you create your own groups. So you can have dad's channels, mom's channels, sports channels, things like that. And those are hard-coded channels. Well, this year, what we did is we kind of went back to the way we did it before by making it dynamic and reading what's currently airing and pulling those channels into your channel collection. So you can create rules on your channel collections. For example, if you were to make a channel collection for sports, you probably have a pretty good idea of what channels are going to be there right off the bat, right? ESPN 1, 2, maybe Fox Sports 1, CBS Sports, stuff like that. If you were to make that, that's great. Well, if there's sports on CBS, they don't show up in your sports section. But with automatic channels, you can add a rule that says also any current airing that is a sports event, bring into this channel collection. So then now your channel collections are very dynamic, and you can set all kinds of rules. You can set it by genre, by content type, like movies or sports. You can exclude some of your sources. A lot of our customers and fans have many sources, because you can pull in your cable channels, your OTA channels, you can pull in Pluto channels, you can pull in all kinds of things. And sometimes you want to maybe exclude those. So you can get really deep into the configuring of it. And we did a lot of that last year, where we've started becoming very customizable and letting you really craft your own TV experience. And we did even more of that last year.
You have a very active community, and I've signed up for, to be on the list. I think I get an email that says, "Hey, here's what's new. Here's what's new and what's happened since this certain time." You mentioned Pluto, and that when that first started, that kind of seemed to be, kind of iffy, but I'm hearing more and more of it, and it seems like it's showing up. Maybe they're doing some advertising or something like that. That's one of many of those kinds of channels, but you mentioned it. Is that something you're seeing in that space of getting more popular?
So for our customer base, It sort of is for a couple of reasons. And this isn't to sound sassy or anything like that. And it's not an indictment and it's not critical. But our customer base is older than a normal 18 to 24 market, right? And the first thing is because we're a DVR. And DVRs are old, baby. They are not new anymore, right? It's an old tech. And so people like our age are looking to keep that DVR, and nobody's really offering it. YouTube TV has recordings, stuff like that, but it's just not the DVR that people are used to. And so a lot of our customers are of, in their 40s because they were 20 when they had DVRs. It was the hot thing. Well, if you look at what's on Pluto, it's filled with a whole bunch of content they can't get money and pay for or get sold anywhere else.
Right.
So they put it on Pluto in linear TV, and all of a sudden you've got people in your 40s that are used to linear TV that want family ties, and it all sort of it just rolls together. At least it certainly rolls together for our customer base. And so having Pluto in there with the ability to even record it is a big deal, and they really love it.
Are there other channels out there like Pluto that I'm not familiar with that you guys that would fall into that same category?
So this is actually, I don't know how much you follow the business of streaming, but last year was a really big deal between things getting great and falling apart all at the same time. 2023 is going to be a real reckoning for the streaming companies, that all these production and distributors that made their own streaming services, they're all losing money, and they all have to figure out how they're going to really make this work, because they for the last 2 years, they've spent a lot of money on it. One of the things that has been happening while streaming is getting big is these things called fast services. And that's what Pluto is considered. What the acronym stands for, it's escaping me now. It's free ad-supported television.
There you go.
Fast. So Pluto licenses stuff out, throws ads in it, puts it on as linear TV, makes it free. It worked for them for a while. CBS bought them. It's been really successful. And so you're starting to see more of these. Plex has their own. Samsung has their own. Almost every TV company that has a smart platform like their own has their own. And basically, they're just buying these channels, and they're just bundling them together and giving away for free, and they're supported by ads. And most people at a certain age are used to it, and it pairs well with OTA. If all you've got is an antenna, right? And you get the network shows, you get a little bit of football, right? You get the award shows, you get
no ESPN,
TV,
which is
no
always
ESPN.
No
You don't get Monday Night Football. Well, sometimes you get Monday Night Football if they
or all the
decide to put it on
college
ABC.
stuff. Yeah.
And if you then pair Pluto with it, sometimes people are just looking for stuff to watch. They're not looking for a certain thing to watch. And Pluto offers a lot of stuff, and they cycle a lot of stuff out. Like if you're looking for a lot of reruns of CSI or game shows or a lot of this stuff, a lot of people are going to hear and go, that sounds awful and boring. But there's just as many people that are grateful for it, and it's all free. And it's a great place for content to land as well. Like, who is buying Family Ties episodes from iTunes? Probably nobody.
Right. Yeah. No. And you can go with channels, right? I could go in and record the whole. I mean, I could get the whole shebang over. And those channels, they seem to run them. Like Pluto, they seem to binge run them. So like they just run them. Hey, here's the next 17 episodes of CSI Miami.
Well, it's not just that. The channel is CSI Miami.
Yeah, right.
Like the channel is Family Ties. It's the Family Ties channel, which is something we did with channels last year. Something we've wanted to do for years and years and years, which is how virtual channels work. You can take your recordings. If you've got all the Seinfelds recorded, you can, with a click of a button, create a channel that lives in your guide that does nothing but play back your Seinfelds.
Yep.
It skips the commercials. It does everything. And people are loving that. And we put a lot of work into it this year to make it a lot better.
How are you feeling? commercial skipping has always been, that's kind of the golden ticket on these, right? We media center before Plex, before channels. Those are kind of for me, that's the progression of how I'd use these. How are you feeling about your skipping, your channel skipping, or I'm sorry, commercial skipping, and what kind of feedback are you getting on it?
It's funny because it depends on what you watch. Some networks, and it does tend to be network based, or commercial skipping works better for some networks than it does for others. And I recorded all of the Law and Orders, which you can imagine if you have cable, you know that it probably didn't take that long. But I actually did that a couple of years ago. I was working on a new design for our show view inside the app, and I needed a ton of episodes of a TV show. So I just set it to record every Law and Order. Well, since then, I've been watching every single one of them, and they were all down. They were all recorded from the Sundance Channel. The commercial skipping on it's perfect. It's consistent and it's expected, and you can the expectations are set really well. Some other channels like Bravo, it sometimes just doesn't work as well. So it's kind of hit or miss. So we've got a lot of customers that are like, the commercial skipping is the best feature. It's incredible. I can't believe how perfect it is. And then we have some people that say it doesn't work. I wish it was better. I agree with that person. We do, but it's very hard to nail down. And I think that where it's at now, it's a pretty happy medium. Most importantly is the way we handle commercial skipping. For example, we don't remove the commercials because we know it's not perfect. The last thing we're going to do is do a destructive action so that if we accidentally removed part of the show, you can't get it back. So commercials are never removed. What happens is our player knows where the commercial blocks are and can skip through it. And we have multiple options. We have the default is we just show a button that says skip commercial. You click the button, you skip the commercial. If it's not a commercial, don't click the button, right? If you're pretty confident and you use it a lot and it's okay, you can turn on an automatic commercial skip. That's what I do. Are there times that it is wrong or skips ahead too soon or too late? Yeah, but we have put things in place to make sure that you can correct it without falling into like a trap. For example, if you have automatic commercial skip on, the second the playhead moves into one of those blocks, it skips. Well, if it was wrong and you go back, we know you've already gone through it, so we don't auto skip again. Because if we did, it would just be this, right? So we do a lot of stuff like that to make sure that, like, you know, if it doesn't work, it's not going to like wreck you. And all that stuff goes into, I think, why people like channels a lot. They don't know why. Software is hard. When you get it right, nobody knows why. They just like it, and nobody tells you. When you get it wrong, everybody tells you.
How do you, I mean, I think about the way YouTube finds copyrighted content inside our videos with, actually, I don't know how they do it, some kind of signature or something, right? Code. Is there something similar on the commercial side where you can kind of detect the signature of a commercial? I mean, let's be honest, on some of those, we were just talking about Pluto, and they run the same commercials over and over and over. Is there any way to take advantage of that, or can you, how's the magic? And I'm not, I don't want you to dissect the code, but is there an easy way to detect commercials, or is it really, really hard?
Well, there's a couple of things that you can do. There's a lot of patterns that TV programs do. For example, they fade to black to go to a commercial. That's one of them. Another thing is when they come back from a commercial, they have a bug in the corner, right? Whether it says TV 14 or ABC or things like that. So those are the two like easiest ones. But then there's a lot of other things. And I'll give you an example of when our commercial skipping gets absolutely ruined is if you have a weather warning and you've got to scroll at the bottom of the screen. That will break it every single time because it messes up all the patterns that it's looking for. So there's lots of little patterns here and there, which, as from what I just said, you can imagine why it's easy to get it wrong or not get it right.
Yeah. That's and here in the Midwest, we get a lot of those, especially in the spring, summer, and fall. We get a lot of those weather warnings, and I imagine, and then sometimes the weather guy breaks in. The show keeps running, in a screen.
Oh yeah.
the weather guy breaks in for a few minutes, or gal breaks in for a few minutes, goes back. I imagine that is impossible to
I mean,
discover, right?
hey, the show's still on. Why should we skip through it?
Right. Right. No, for sure. I mentioned early in the show that I had moved my instance from, or I had it on my NVIDIA Shield. I did remember I mess with this so little. This is a good and a bad thing. Over the summer, I moved it to a PC. So
Yeah, remember you saying that you moved
yeah,
it to a Windows box.
yeah. So I did move it to a Windows box, and it's been fantastic since. What are you finding, like, how, because you have some idea of how people are using this and what kind of platforms they're on. Last time you were on, I think it was October of 2021, you guys had just kind of released the new, I think it was for the was it for Apple, that for the now
The
that I say
M1.
that, yeah, Channels 5.0 for Apple TV and iOS had just come out. What are you seeing since then over the last year? Does the usage of devices, the way people use it, does that change very much, or does that stay pretty consistent? And
We
what's the
have a
best
lot of
platform?
So we've got a lot of people that came from Fire Sticks and moved to Apple TVs, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The first one is and my apologies to all Fire Stick lovers out there.
Now I've got a couple. I have a
It's
couple.
not very good hardware.
Okay.
It's
Yes. Yes.
loss leader hardware. Like they sell it as cheap as they can to get people on the platform. They make it back in ads, and not in a good way, like Xboxes sell for cheap to make it back in video game software. The hardware is just not as good. And so what we've seen is a lot of our customers are moving to the Apple TV, because the Apple TV, while way more expensive than everything else, although much cheaper now since they introduced the last one, it's just stronger hardware with less ads. And our customers, at least on our community, who are clearly not the same as people that are just using it and minding their own business, they're clearly enthusiasts, but they're highly invested in channels. And if they found that if they're going to be so invested in channels, it's worth having the better piece of hardware for it. We also develop for Apple TV first and then port everything over. And so if you're on Apple TV, you're going to get the features sooner than you will on an Android TV or a Fire TV.
Yeah, you mentioned last time you were on, you were on 5.0. Android was 4.0 at the time. You're at 5.5 and 4.5 on the Android. Does that stay pretty consistent? And do you think we'll let John come back here? I think something. Hopefully, he didn't drop his drink on his laptop. Let's see if we can get him back here. 1 second. There
I'm
he
here.
is.
Back. I'm here.
Oh, what happened?
I hit Command Arrow
No worries.
back in my browser, but the wrong browser was focused.
Yeah, no worries. So
Okay. That
you're
was quick.
you're five. Yeah, no, it's great. Five. That's the fastest anybody's ever come back to the show.
Well, I just clicked an arrow.
Yeah, nice. 5.5 on the Apple side, 4.5 on the Android side. But when you think about the parity between the two, are they pretty close?
They're pretty close. We did we did a lot this year in this summer to get them even closer. On later, which is our feature that allows you to browse what's coming on later in your guide. For example, a lot of our fans were just having to they were scrolling through the guide on channels to see finding other stuff to record. And we thought that was silly. We're like, why don't you just search? And their answer was simple. It was, I don't know what I want to record. I'm looking for things to like record so that later I have stuff. And so we built this feature called On Later that basically just pulls things from your guide, like by your guide, I mean the database, and presents it in a way that's browsable. So you can see what things that are on tonight. You can see all the new shows that are coming on this week, like literally new shows that have never aired before that are coming on, the new seasons. You can browse, you can literally see all the movies that are in your guide in a movie section. You can see all the sports and stuff like that. So for example, that wasn't on Android for quite some time, but this year we got it on there. So Android got put on there. Library collections weren't on there. We had added the ability to import videos earlier this year or last year, which is different than movies and TV shows. Movies and TV shows you can add to channels, and we index them, and we grab metadata from other sources and give you pretty pictures and things like that. Well, with videos, we can't really do that. So we had to add a way to let you add home videos so that if you wanted them in channels, you could get them there. We also had to add metadata editing abilities. We never let you do that before. So now you can go in and you can change all the title, descriptions, cast, tags, all that stuff, including the ability to upload art and apply art to different things. And that applies to movies and TV shows. But videos needed it the most, because when you add, Bill's birthday, like there's nothing else that we can do to make it look nice in channels. But now you can go in there and you can add a bunch of stuff. So that got added to Android as well as MPAA TV ratings and automatic channels. I'm just kind of looking at the list. But playback speed got added last year, and so that got added to Android. So one thing that people really wanted, which is one of the reasons when we decided to do a DVR, the first thing we did was we propped up Discourse as a community and posted and said, hey, we're making a DVR, because we knew that we were never going to do this without everybody else. And not only did we want to have community involvement, we knew we were going to need it. And one perfect example is people asking for playback speed. People were demanding, I need to be able to play back in 1.5x, and I thought it was crazy. Like, I'm not going to watch a TV show at 1.5x, but people are watching things I don't watch that they want to watch faster. A lot of people watch baseball at 1.5x, which honestly sounds like a great idea.
That's a really good idea. Maybe 2 times.
Games, they're very long games.
Yeah.
So we got that added to Android, and last year we also made it so that you can make it a setting on a show. So while playback speed was something you'd have to adjust every time you played something, well, we added it as an option to a show. So if you have a certain show, or for example, MLB baseball, every time you turn a recording on from baseball, it will use that set recording speed or playback speed. So that's something I never would have thought of if we didn't have the feedback that we have.
Well, we listen to podcasts that way. My kind of makes sense, right? A lot of folks, I mean, I think I listen to everything at 1.4, 1.3, something along those. Depends on who it is, and you can set it. It's so that kind of makes sense. I'd gotten into the habit on YouTube of just, hitting the arrow, like, okay, let's dude, clicking the button to get through.
I know what you're about to do for 45 seconds, and I don't need to watch.
I don't want to see it. Like, let's just get through the thing. You, from a platform perspective, you're on Raspberry Pi, Mac OS, Windows, and Linux, right? From a NAS, you're on Synology, QNAP, MyCloud from Western Digital, Netgear, Seagate, Unraid, FreeNAS, NVIDIA Shield, and then you got a Docker available as well. Is there a platform that you don't cover? As I was looking at this list, I'm like, is there something you're not covering, or is there something in the future that you're hoping to get to? That seems I couldn't figure out anything different.
The only problem we have is that TV Everywhere, the ability to authenticate and get those channels, doesn't exist on 32-bit ARM chips.
Okay.
Which basically at this point is like super old NAS devices.
Yeah.
Everything else is either running a 64-bit ARM chip, but most NAS devices have moved to like real low power Celeron x86 chips, which work fantastically. But platform wise, I mean, I'm sure there's something out there that I don't know about that like somebody thinks is ridiculous that we're not on. But we try to be on, everywhere. We want to be on. We want to make sure the server works on something that you already have. Mm-hmm. Not just like, here's what you need to go buy. You should be able to find it on a Friday night and get excited, install it, and be watching TV and recording in an hour. Less than that.
Yeah, no, it's super fast. I've set it up several times that way, and you get it like, I'm going to switch, devices. Let's get this done in an afternoon. Not even that. You kind of have.
We have people that have that a lot, because what happens is if you have all those choices, you start playing around like, I don't know where I want to host this.
Yeah. Well, I have found I like it better not on the bottom, not even the NVIDIA Shield was not quite enough. I wanted a little bit more. I ended up putting on a Core i7 PC, which was just fine. I don't have a GPU on there. Although this fall, I built a pretty nice, AMD Ryzen 5. It's got a 3060, Ti card in it. If I did run this on a kind of a gaming rig, would it take advantage of the GPU?
I mean, how many people? I mean, how many transcoded streams are you going to do? You know what I mean? That's
Right.
the only thing. The only thing that uses CPU other than transcoding is CommSkip, and that's not going to take advantage of a GPU anyway. So,
Okay.
if you're we did recently do some extra work to get the transcoding working really well on the M1 Apple hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you're aware, but one of the big deals in the M1 architecture, the SoC, the system on a chip, is their encoder. And their encoder is a little bit different than just QuickSync on an Intel chip. And their encoder is bananas. Like, it is really bananas. It's really fast. And we got it working really fast. But most people don't really need that. And you can have a 6th gen i5 from years ago, and the QuickSync, transcoding stuff works just fine. And if you're just at home, you don't need transcoding. It doesn't transcode it. It does full quality. We don't convert it at the client. We don't do anything. The client plays it back like normal. It's, it was years ago we had to do that stuff, but now, these devices are fast enough that we don't have to do any of that.
Yeah. I think I'm running it on a Core i7 4770, which is maybe 10 years old, and it actually works just great.
It's weird that that's 10 years old.
Isn't that crazy to think? I think it's maybe 8 or 9 or 10 years, something like that. And you think, ooh, that's been a while. But no, it runs just great. And so, hey, so John, you mentioned, since in the last couple of years, YouTube TV has come on. I mean, we have obliterated the cut the cord culture has obliterated everything. We got all these options now with Peacock and Paramount and all these various options. I mean, the streaming options have become, I know we wanted choice, but did we want this much choice? Do you see that consolidating at some point? And I'm assuming you still want to be on the front end of this, being able to give everyone access to everything they have subscriptions to, or as much as you possibly can. Can you talk a little bit about the industry as you see it?
I mean, there's a lot of talk. The biggest buzz, pull quote is streaming's just turning into a cable bundle. It costs just as much money, and you're going to have to buy 3 different streaming services a month, and if you want to get what you want. I think choice is going away a little bit more. In the heyday of Netflix as being the only streaming service out, everybody else was putting their stuff on Netflix because it was a way to make money from stuff that was sitting on a shelf. And that worked great, and everybody loved it. People decided that they could start cutting cords and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Well, all that stuff got pulled out. Everybody's working on their own content. I don't know if we're any better off. My perspective is different too, because in this conversation, almost 90% of the time, all people are doing is talking about content and how much they paid for it. And I like experience. And what I'm concerned with is is it a good experience to use YouTube TV? I do not think it is. I think it is a terrible app, and seeking it in it is bad. And next year, when NFL fans have Sunday ticket through it and they're seeking around a game, they're going to be really upset, and they're going to wish they had DirecTV back. I hope that these things can change. I hope that these things can stop feeling like websites inside of streaming boxes and feel more. I mean, I don't think that the YouTube TV app is any better than a Comcast X1 box. Mm-hmm. People have spent a decade talking about how bad cable boxes are, and I honestly think that a lot of cable boxes have caught up and the experience is better than streaming apps.
Mm-hmm.
The streaming apps are built once to work on multiple apps. None of them work great on one device because they want to build once, or write once and build everywhere.
Right.
And the experience isn't custom. There's no settings, there's no opinions. They're all built for the lowest common denominator, which is something that we're just trying not to do. And I'm not saying that we're doing a better job. Their job is very hard. But their target market is like 100 million people, and we're not even close to that.
Right.
I mean,
right.
we just want to give people a customizable experience. If I'll give you an example, a couple months ago, we added a setting so previously, if you were to click the button to seek forward and back, we showed the timeline. It's what everything's done forever. It's what you want to. You want to see how far it's going. You want to see the time. You want to see all that. Well, sports fans hate it because they go back and it immediately covers the score and the play and everything like that. And they're like, "Can you please stop doing this?" And we're like, "Well, we can't really stop doing this because then people that are used to it don't have it." Right. So I made it a setting. It's a setting, and not only is it a setting, it's a setting for regular TV. It's a setting for sports, and it's a setting for movies. Okay. So now you can go in and you can decide, when I'm seeking in sports, does the timeline show? No. And if you're seeking in movies, it does. If you're seeking in things that aren't sports, that's everything else. Mm-hmm. Everything that's not a movie or sports.
Right.
And so we are trying to create an experience that fits people as well as it can. And yeah. I went off on a tangent a little bit there, but I'm not sure. I don't know what's happening. I can tell you right now, if channels went away for some reason, it just wasn't here, I love it as much as everybody else does, and I don't know what I would use for TV.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
The cable bundle works. It's all in one app.
Yeah, right.
It's tough, but it's like, what do people want? Do you want 100 channels or do you want 100 shows? It's different for everybody, and I don't think people have the choice they thought that they were going to have. It's all bundled.
Well, I think it's more complicated than I think we thought it would be. You know, my granddaughter comes over and like, oh, she wants to watch dinosaurs. Well, okay, what's that on? Well, it's on Disney Plus. Okay, so let me fire up the Shield, get in. You know, okay, Disney Plus, then roll through. You know, now we watch it often enough that it shows up pretty quickly as a favorite or what we watched, but it's a lot of, I mean, it's a little bit, it's turned me, I mean, I watch mostly sports on channels, but the rest of my content, I really kind of just get through YouTube. And to me, that makes, it serves it up. And I think you guys are doing this. If I was watching more TV content, I think I would see more of that kind of experience on channels where, hey, the things I'm watching more often are making their way for more visibility.
We have a feature called Up Next, and it's at the top of your library. You can also put it as a whole section in your sidebar navigation. Basically, what happens is it takes what you've watched and suggests the next thing. So if you watch The West Wing, and like say you're doing another run through The West Wing, well, if you watch season 2, episode 4, well, the next thing it suggests is season 2, episode 5, and it does that for all the shows. But it does it based on time. So if you haven't watched West Wing for a while, everything else that you should watch next starts to get in front of it. And so the idea is if you're not watching West Wing anymore, it sort of drifts to the back. So, and all the stuff you are watching gets pushed to the front. And so instead of having to dig through navigation and hierarchy, the idea is that it tells you what you should watch next.
Mm-hmm.
And and I always say that. I hate that term. It's not telling you what to watch next. It's trying to get you to what you want to watch next quicker by saying, here it is. Don't go to the shows section and then the name of the show and then the season and then the episode. You know, it's just, here it is, ready for you. And we put it up front, and nobody else does. They put it like 3 bars below.
Yeah, I know. And I appreciate that. That actually, that's a one feature of YouTube that really works well for me on the, you know, as I just think about the way I use a standard version of YouTube, that part works really, really well for me. I also know when I go in to watch sports, I've got the the guide memorized. I could almost tell you like how many clicks, what are the clicks, and how many to get to ABC or CBS or NBC or Fox to be able to get to those channels.
Mhm.
I tell you what, we put the we put the TV. I bought a TV just for the deck this year, and so now I've got a deck TV to watch sports on out there.
Nice.
And John, that is just magical. Like there's nothing like getting in there and sitting on the deck, TV's blaring, watching sports out there, and a great experience. I remember being able to be out there and somebody's like, hey, could we, I think the World Series was on and we were having a party out on the deck and someone was like, can we watch the World Series instead? Sure. Go over, click around, just boom, we're on it. We're doing it from the deck. So it was nice.
It's
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, now that doesn't seem that crazy. But when we first shipped channels and we didn't have a DVR system, we were just an app that read from an HD home run 7 years ago. The world was different. And one of our pitches was TV anywhere in the house. And that meant if you pick up a TV and move it to a room that never had TV before, before you couldn't do that. Well, is there a cable box there? Is there a coax jack? Like, how do you get TV there? Like, how are you gonna do that? And the fact that channels was just over Wi-Fi, all you needed to make sure the streaming box was attached. You could put it on the deck. You could, you could have temporary TVs. It was really cool.
Yeah, I keep thinking I need to run. I've got a shed that I've turned into a smoke shack for cigars. And I need to figure out how to get the Wi-Fi strong enough all the way out there. Usually when I'm out there,
bury a cable, run Ethernet.
Yeah,
crack the ground.
No, you're right. Dig a trench, put power in, put Ethernet out there. I'm on the $8 plan for the monthly plan. There used to be talk to me a little bit about pricing. It doesn't seem like you've changed. I mean, everybody's raised their price, but it seems I was just on the site. It's still $8. What? You guys, it's inflation. What's going on over there?
Well, we've spent the last couple of years, like, I think that when we first started, we priced ourselves high, and a lot of people complained about that, but we knew that we had a lot of value to deliver, and we used it as a pretty good driving force of building features and stuff like that. So, we've spent the last few years, getting to the $8, and we think we're like there, and it's not something we're really trying to mess with right now. We're trying to get the product as good as possible and get more people interested in it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's been a nice. Everything else has gone up on me, and I keep the bill comes in. I'm like, oh, it's $8 this month. That's awesome.
Fortunately, we're not spending $80 billion a year on content.
No, right. No, it's kind of nice just to be the ones displaying it. Couple comments coming in from the chat room. Let's get to those. So Tony says my Chromecast can be laggy. We were talking about equipment, and I think anytime you're in the Fire Stick or the Chromecast or whatever, you're right. Those are, with the exception be Apple TV on that. And is there one in addition to Apple TV that would be
the thing about the Apple TV? There's a couple of reasons why it works better with channels. The first one is it's got a lot of storage. Like, we buffer on the client. So if you've got a Fire Stick and there's only 1.5 gigs free, we're only going to be able to use 1 gig of it. That means you're only going to be able to have a buffer for about 5 to 10 minutes. And that's not a very good experience. A lot of people have added flash drives to it, and that works so that you can have a little bit more storage. But that's sort of, kind of a hack. Whereas Apple TVs, as of today, they come with a standard storage size of 64 gigs. That's honestly bizarre. Like, I don't know why they ever came with a lot of storage. But they will, and so you're going to have a lot of headroom there. The other thing of headroom you're going to have is that the CPUs in the Apple TVs are bananas. They're just like so much faster than what's in the Fire Stick. The Fire Sticks and the Chromecasts are using really low-end, cheap MediaTek hardware. Apple's using chips that they're pulling out of shoeboxes because they're selling so many iPhones. I mean, they're selling chips that were paid for manufacturing wise like 4 years ago because they sell so many devices, and so they're in a really good position to be able to put better hardware in it. And they also aren't, they have different incentives and values, where Amazon and Google are always looking for market share. Look at the news about the Alexa organization.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
these things have
Amazon's-
never made money.
Right.
You know, they've employed
Right.
people. That's great. But,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Huge loss
at a
leader for them in a lot of ways. Yeah.
well, you know, but it just seems to me that in tech right now, we've got these categories that are loss leaders.
Right.
They don't ever make money.
Right.
Yeah, at a certain point, something's got to make money. And they're just
Mhm.
really just seem to be there to make sure that somebody else doesn't win. I don't think Google cares about Google Home.
No. Well,
They just
no.
did it
The other-
because Amazon did it, and they
The s-
didn't want to seed ground to Amazon.
maybe a small division thinking, hey, this could be something, we don't want to miss out on this. We'll have to see where this goes. But, you know, maybe their heart was never really in it, you know, a type deal where you had to,
Google?
yeah.
What do you mean? Their heart's been never in anything but search ads.
Well, search and advertising, right?
Mhm.
Brian in the chat says, yeah, he purchased an Apple TV within the last year to replace some of my Fire Sticks. Glad he made the move. Bob asks, Apple TV and NVIDIA Shield, we talked about, it used to be there was one app, it seemed like, that you would pay for. Is that, where are you guys at on the app side? As
We
far
still
as
have that.
availability?
We tried to rebrand it last year to make it a little bit more clear. It's called HD Home. It's called Channels for HD Home Run, because it only works with the HD Home Runs. $25. You buy it, you get a live TV buffer. Works great. If all you're looking for is a way to watch a little bit of football or the award shows when they're on network TV or things like that, it's a great solution. You buy it once, you get 24 hours of guide data, you get to pause and rewind and fast forward. It's great. If you're a big TV watcher, you want to go with the DVR product for sure. As far as NVIDIA and Apple TV being the premium options, the Shield's getting a little long in the tooth, I believe.
It kind of is.
I mean, but you know, the Shield's good. The Shield TV is good, and you only need so much power to run channels. It's not like having more power makes channels more better. But that A15 Apple TV is like real fast compared to everything else now.
Yeah, it made a big difference for us when I moved it off of the Shield, put it on the PC, and we just used the Shield for playback. That,
again, if you're invested
awesome.
in channels, it's worth investing in channels.
Yeah, no,
that's
right
what
on.
we try to tell people. And it's, you know, it's not so much. And a lot of people will move from the Shield. The Shield's great if you're one person and that's it in an apartment. It's already there. You install it, you're done, and you never have any problems. But if you're running 3 TVs, recording a lot, it's worth bumping up to something else.
Yeah, no, I think so. I agree. John, anything, I want to ask you an off-topic question, completely off-topic question. But before we go to that, anything else you're super proud of, or you want to talk about from a channel's perspective? Anything that I missed from that folks need to know about, especially this community? Remember, this is a community that grew up out of Media Center. We all moved to Plex. Some of us are still running Plex and some of those pieces. So anything else you want to add before I move on?
I don't think so. I think I've said a lot. I'd love to take the time to thank everybody that uses channels and helps us out and emails us and posts on the community. My partners and I came from open source. We worked at GitHub early because we were open source guys, and we've been in open source forever. We make a joke about the way we develop channels out in the open, that we don't know any other way to do it, right? Like we really feel like we operate this, even though it's not an open source project, we involve the community and care about them a ton, and they are so helpful. And one of the things I want to thank everybody for is that we routinely get comments, or we see comments on Reddit or somewhere else to say that, you know, they'll say what our product is, they'll say how much it costs, and then they'll immediately try to defend it because a lot of people thinks that it's expensive, and they'll tell us that the developer supports the best they've ever had, which that means everything to us because we work really hard, and not only do we want things to work for everybody and we want to make sure everybody, you know, is happy, but we like to be involved. And the other thing they say is how great the community is. We had somebody that say that this is the greatest community that they've ever been a part of. Everybody was very helpful. Nobody was snarky. We get a little snark here and there, but frankly, I like it that way. It needs to have, there needs to be a little bit of edge to things to keep it fun.
little passion.
Yeah, and I just want to thank everybody that uses the software and gives us feedback, because there's a lot of things we wouldn't have done without them.
Anything in 2023 you're excited about? Is that's coming that you've let the community know? I'm not looking for secrets, but
More better things.
okay, more of what you're doing, even better. It is a great community, and I don't spend a ton of time out there, but whenever I've been trying to look something up or trying to figure some things out, or what's the best way to configure this, always been super helpful. So thanks for developing a great community. That's pretty awesome. It's good, and thanks for coming back and talking about it. I think it's the best $8 I spend, because I don't get any feedback. Like,
it's a big deal. You know, I've said this before on this show. It was family satisfaction is important to us. Like the spousal acceptance factor is a nerdy thing and sometimes rude thing, but it's always lived in the media center world. I think I learned it there, and it's true, because most of it was never that good. And so we always wanted it to be good for the whole family. That's why our homepage says it.
Yeah, I agree. Jay, don't go anywhere. Jay, I guess from last week, saying, "Hey, great show. I got to go. Thank you." Don't leave, Jay. I got a question. I got one more question for John before I let him go. So, John, over the holidays, I built him kind of a pretty, I wouldn't say monster, but a pretty nice gaming rig, and the whole purpose of it was really to host VR. And so I picked up one of the MetaQuest 2 VR rigs. As we think about, what are you thinking about? You know, you get into that thing and it's a media, I mean, it could be a media juggernaut for delivering all that same content in a way that's literally immersive and you're right there with it. Are you guys looking in this space? I mean, VR has been struggling for the last 10 years. We've been talking about it for a long time. It really, that killer app, we had the guy from we had a Mac guy on here, and he was like, you know, there's still no killer app with that. What are your thoughts on VR? Maybe both personal as you see the space, and then how does it relate to this and what you guys are doing with Channels?
So I'll throw some context down. I just powered up my Quest 2 so that my kids could play it last week for the first time in maybe 8 months.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think it updated from version 32 to 47 or something like that. It was very out of date because we don't use it. I don't use it, and using it with them is hard because it's impossible to help somebody in VR.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point. The software was really good. Like, I was really surprised at how refined it was, and I was very impressed. But I can't stand the hardware. Like, I don't like putting it on. It feels too hard. And I may not be a good person to ask this because I'm, in my 40s, but once you hit a certain age, some things are a lot to ask, right? Like, I remember in 2017, I never wanted to just start. I just never wanted to. It was the evening, and I knew I kind of wanted to play Zelda on my Switch, but I just never turned it on. And then there was those nights that I turned it on, and I played it for 4 hours. But because sometimes it's just hard to just get past a certain thing. And putting that headset on is just awful, and I don't think that's going to go anywhere. It's hot and sweaty and blah, blah, blah. Now, something I got last fall, have you seen these In-Real Airs, these AR glasses?
Okay,
no, so
yet.
They call them AR glasses, and these are cheaper and are less functional than their other product, which has, I think, 6 degrees of freedom and will track and stuff like that. But these are simple glasses. They look almost like this. They look practically like regular glasses like this. And you put them on, and they've got a USB-C cable that goes from here to anything you plug into. You can plug it into a Steam Deck. Which has become it's piggybacking on the success of the Steam Deck right now. But you plug it into that, or you can plug it into an iPad, and it projects a screen. It's got little OLED screens inside, and you get a screen that's about the size of a 27-inch monitor this far away from a desk. That doesn't sound very big, but that's how big an 85-inch TV is when you're sitting on a couch. And it's twice as sharp as you've probably watched video in the Quest 2. The screen door effect is not gone yet on the Quest 2. It's still there, and it really ruins the experience. These do not have the screen door effect. It's a solid, crisp picture. Now, we went to Orlando, and one of the things I did was I pulled these. I said to my wife, I said, "Are you ready for this? Are you ready for your passenger, your lovely husband passenger, when he pulls out his AR glasses on the airplane to watch his TV show?" And I plugged them into my little iPad mini, and I put them on. And like, your eyes are funny things. It takes a while to get used to things sometimes, but once I settled in, booyah! I mean, it was a crisp screen, and I just sat in the airplane and watched, and it was great. It was great. I watched a couple of Law and Orders. I watched some Curb Your Enthusiasms, and it worked really great. Now, those glasses are AR glasses because if you saw in his screenshot, he was just showing they have black covers that darken it. If you take those covers off, you can see through it, so you are still aware. See, with the lenses, you can be aware of everybody around you. Where in VR, you were lost to the world.
Yeah. Well, I talked with the kids about, like, would you take this on an airplane to watch a movie with? Like,
No.
Put that on your head. I mean, I might try.
It's too hot. It's too hot.
It's heavy. It's heavy for sure.
These glasses are interesting. They're the one thing, and it's like, if the engineers heard me say it, they'd probably roll their eyes and be like, "I know." The screen's fixed, right? Because they don't have any tech to like be able to keep it static so that you can move your head and it stays. But eventually we'll get there. And I believe their other glasses, or even their software that runs on Android, can do it. But if you just get video out from something, it can't. It's fixed. And it's kind of noticeable. You immediately sort of say, "Oh, I really wish this was fixed." Because if you move a lot and it goes with you, it doesn't feel as natural. And if it was fixed, it'd feel great. But on an airplane, you're pretty fixed anyways. Like, you're not moving anywhere. So
you're not moving. You're not moving your head around.
Your head's not even moving. It worked well. It's going to happen.
$379. So that's about what I paid for the not Oculus, Meta. Sorry, trying to relearn the terminology. Meta Quest 2. What's available there? Yeah, it would be a lot different. I mean, now I'm assuming it's pairing with your phone and using your phone's processor, right?
Yeah, I'll also caveat it with the fact that, like, it doesn't do anything. The Quest does a lot. The Quest is a platform. It is as a store. It has a social thing. It has games. It has experiences. It has movies. Those in real airs are monitors for your eyes.
Okay.
They do have Android software that they pair with. They can do all kinds of shenanigans and cool stuff because you can do more things on Android. You're freer to do things than you can on the iOS system. But the reviews are like so-so.
Okay. Well, so let me come back around to the question, and then I'll qualify it with let's go agnostic of hardware for a second and just think about the VR experience of having that stuff with you on your head, immersive from that standpoint. Does that change, like, for you as you think about the future of consuming the kind of media that your, TV shows and movies and does that, having access to that kind of platform, does that excite you at all? Or are those media still kind of never going to join together, never be seen in the same way?
I think if you want an answer to that question, you should look at YouTube. I think content, if someone can provide us a technology to be immersive, content will change around that.
Okay.
And YouTube, I think, is the best example. People our age remember YouTube when it was, I posted a funny photo or a funny video and a bunch of people saw it. YouTube today is full channels full of people at home. Right? Making content I subscribe to, that I check my recs on every day, if not every hour. I watch a lot of YouTube. I fought YouTube Premium for a really long time.
Yeah.
And now I'm a proud family premium subscriber.
Yeah.
And everything about the content on YouTube exists because of YouTube and how it works and what the internet is. YouTube is not filled with cop shows. right? And so I think the future of any kind of immersive content won't be YouTubers. I hope not, because Hey Guys in 3D might be too scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So it'll just be something else.
Yeah. It's been
The kids
interesting.
will figure it out.
Like the Google Maps app where you can pull all the way out to where you're in space and you can see space on either side and you're still looking at the globe. That's pretty impressive. Like just
cool.
in that moment. Now you start drilling in on the maps, and listen, a Google map looks great. Being able to go down and see your house at whatever resolution it is on a screen is fine. In VR, it's terrible. Like that's my impression of like, oh yeah, this is like this is not good resolution. Like
the resolution's not very good.
No, it's not. Well, especially when it's that close to your eyes, right?
Yeah.
And it is, we saw this big jump in companies like Peloton when the pandemic started, and in providing this immersive workout experience, even though it's still flat screens, not VR from that standpoint, but they trying to change the rules on workouts. VR has got some workout capabilities in it, some things that you can do, and I think that's actually.
I think that's a great thing for it.
Yeah, a very practical application for it.
I've been using VR since the beta Oculus headsets, and I had an HTC Vive, and I have to say I was a little bit more excited about it then than I am now. But what I found was, and what got me excited was, I was like, oh, this is going to be about experience. It's not going to be about games. Yeah. And there's plenty of fun games to be had, but it seems to me that it's going to be like, I'm still kind of surprised that companies are getting around to it. But I sort of predicted 5 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, every Disney and Marvel movie that comes out is going to have an accompanying free app for VR. Because, they did it in the Nintendo days, and they made the world's worst Nintendo games, and they did it for every movie. Like, why wouldn't they do it for VR? And they still haven't really gotten around to that.
No.
But you'd think that they would do like a 10-minute experience for every new Pixar movie that comes out, especially Pixar. They got the models already, right?
Yeah.
It's got to translate somehow.
And I would think about they would film some of those in not 3D, but in 360. 360, right? They would some of that, like just get some cameras out, film some of the stuff in 360, make a mini movie for it.
It's great promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids would love that.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Top Gun vignette about the stunt in the newest Mission Impossible movie?
Yeah, I did. Yes.
It's the greatest trailer for promotion for a movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There's no way you can watch that and not guarantee to go see that movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the kind of cool stuff that they should do.
Well, I don't want to, because I'm 50, I don't want to be that guy that's like, I can never. I mean, even though Uncle Marv is, he says, yeah, I'm a boomer. I'm a boomer too. Can't stand VR. I'm really trying to give it a run. Like I want to, knowing that we're still in the early days. My youngest son he does these VR parties. He is, he's kind of become I'll say a local celebrity in VR. He does he DJs these events. He has every available bodysuit type, fitting. So, legs and knees and arms and elbows and a body thing, that fits. He's really, really into it. And he says, Dad, like, it's like a real community for him. And it is.
That's cool.
Right. For him, he goes out there, he's got a lot of friends on it. It's for them, it's primary social. Like, yeah, they kind of game on it, but for him, it's like it's like him going to the bar. Like, for us, like when we used to go out, VR is them going out. They hang out, they talk to each other.
The metaverse is popping up everywhere. Fortnite's the metaverse. I get on Fortnite and I play with my friends, and we really do it more to just talk and hang out and make jokes. And it's all this stuff is, and we wouldn't do it if it didn't work. Right. Like if I didn't actually get what I wanted out of it, which is like, I get to hear my friend tell me a story and make me laugh. Like if all that didn't work, then I wouldn't play it.
Yeah.
But it does work. I think that's proof. So it's all happening, maybe slower than we expected. Tech shoots up and then levels off and then shoots up. I guess it levels off every time somebody says it's time to make money from this.
Yeah, so we actually have to make some money. One of the nice things, so the Meta Quest 2 wirelessly connects Wi-Fi 6 to this new computer that I built. That's why I built
Yeah,
it.
it's crazy.
And
Is
so
it a direct connection, or does it go through
it goes through the
an
Wi-Fi.
access point?
No, it's direct connects to the PC.
So okay, so that's how it's a little bit faster.
Yeah, and it's
Because
pretty
to do it
great.
without a wire is wild.
And I it's I didn't believe it at first. I was like, I don't know if this is really going to work. And I logged in. I was on my PC, and it's got bottom facing cameras, so I can drop the controllers and just use my hands as controllers in a little pinch or push or right. And in theory, I could bring up a web browser and watch channels. I could bring up my channels, TV stuff, and watch it there. The resolution isn't the best still that way. It's not yeah, it's still not the best, but it's still pretty good. And it would be a way for me to, if I wanted to watch something on there, watch TV. I mean, basically just using my PC. I was upstairs. By the way, the Wi-Fi 6E did not make it from upstairs to downstairs. I'll have to kind of think about that, or getting a router or some of those kinds of things. But it's been interesting. I'm not going to give up on it. This is one of those things like, no, I have to force myself into it. I have to think like, okay, I'm going to use my headset tonight for some things to figure some stuff out. But I think we're getting to that point where it could be a mainstream thing. One of the crazy things that happened to me is so I joined the Meta app, and then about 15 or 20 friends from work all joined with me, because they were giving their kids these headsets, right? And then they were logging
Christmas.
in for their kids, for Christmas. That could be like, I remember a Christmas experience and maybe it was a phone that got real popular at Christmas. Maybe it was an iPhone that all of a sudden everybody got or was available. I can't remember which one, but it could just take one or two of those experiences, right? Where all of a sudden it's out there and it creates some momentum or something. And folks start jumping in. So, well,
it's hard. These companies' targets are like, unless 200 million people daily use it, it's not a success.
Right.
And I that's why we're so happy at Channels.
Yeah.
To be like, we don't have to please 200 million people.
So I wish I could show you this now, John. So I'm looking, I use Home Assistant as my kind of my dashboard and it controls all the home automation at the house. And so I have a dashboard that has all the important things to me on it. And one of them is I keep the Shield is on it. And right now, as I'm looking at the Shield on the Home Assistant dashboard, it says Channels DVR. Couldn't have been any better timing. Sarah's watching something. I can't see what she's watching, but I can see right now she's using the Channels DVR. And so, John, thanks for all your work on this. I know you guys are a small team, but you're small but mighty over there. It seems like you guys get a lot of stuff done in a year. I mean, I was just going through the release notes, and it just seems like are you sure it's just a few of you? You say that every time I'm on here.
It's just three of
us. That's crazy. You guys, you guys are massively productive, I think.
Well, we all have our own focuses, but at the same time, we all work together, and we've been doing this stuff for a long time, whether it's just writing software in general or maintaining things. And so, and we enjoy it.
Well, I think that
goes a long way.
That matters. Like when you really, it's how long have you been? You said 5-6 years. How old's the product?
7 years. It was 7 years ago in November that we shipped the first version of Channels, which is kind of crazy.
I think it's really hard to maintain. Like, eventually you start like going, I work in a space where
that still happens.
Yeah, I work with the same customers all the time, right? I have the very enthusiastic ones. I know them by name. I'm sure you've got users out there by name, and they're very passionate. In fact, they're more passionate than you are about it at times, And at some point, you're like, oh, how much longer? How much longer are we going to do this thing? You mentioned last question. You mentioned, there's certainly a demographic that is using DVRs. It's DVR software, right? Not sure the kids are thinking about how to set up a DVR box, or they're
They
buying
don't
one.
even know what it is.
No,
Like,
no, I
I
don't.
don't know if anybody's told you this.
Yeah. So from as
But
you think
20-year-olds don't know what a DVR
no,
is.
no, they don't even care. They're like, can I get it on
Yeah.
an app? Is it on an app? I just
Yeah,
want it
why
on
would I
an app.
record it?
Do-
Why do I have to record it?
Does that keep you awake at night thinking about that? Like, I mean, are we going to age out on some of these things and they'll just go away? I mean, do you think about that?
That's what happens to everything.
Mm.
All you can do is there's other things. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
Like if I had, I'd probably more worried about it if I had 1,000 employees to be responsible for. But I'm
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. That kind of makes it a little bit easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last question from the chat. Uncle Marv said he came in late. He's in the Roku space channels.
Didn't we do this last time?
Maybe, but
We're never going to do a Roku app ever.
Okay.
We're never ever going to do a Roku app.
Why not?
That's because Roku's business model's not doesn't work well with ours.
Okay.
Their devices are even less powerful than Fire Sticks. Their writing code for them is not even close and doesn't even share anything with what we write. We share a lot of code between the Android app and the iOS app. You can't share any of it on Roku. That doesn't work on a team of 3.
Okay.
The other thing is the hardware's not powerful enough to decode MPEG 2. That's just not going to happen. And the final thing is that Roku shakes people down, and we're not going to be part of it. And we just don't think it's a very good system. I get that a lot of people have Roku TVs out there. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But, and maintaining another app, like the Roku answer is the same answer we have for everything, because people are asking us for a Tizen version and a WebOS version and an Xbox version. And the answer is the same for everything. We're not building new clients right now. We have enough.
Yeah.
We've got our hands full as it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that.
And we think the platforms that we're on now are pretty good.
Yeah, and that's a lot. In Uncle Marv does say, "Darn, I didn't choose wisely."
Well, if you bought a Roku, you're only out about $27. So
Yeah.
it's not too bad.
Yeah. Well, and if it's embedded in the TV, you could buy another
You just
thing.
plug it
right?
in.
Yeah.
Just like I mean, nobody should be using any of the smarts in their TV. They're generally not very good.
Yeah. I did buy the TV I bought for the deck has the Fire built into it, and it works. It actually works pretty good. It is slow. Let's be honest. You fire that thing up, and you wait, because I dual purpose the TV. It's the TV I use on the treadmill, and because I'm never on the treadmill and on the deck at the same time. So I can
you move it to the treadmill, and then
I just pick it up. I just pick it up. It's on a mount that they share the same mount, so I just pick it up and take it out to the deck, because I would never leave it on the deck.
In?
No, it's just one plug. I have a plug that comes right to the spot.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's Wi-Fi. You just turn it on. It's super easy, but you're right.
What TV is it?
Yeah, it's a 32-inch.
Oh, that's not very big.
No, and it's super light. Like TVs, it almost falls out of my hands.
I don't understand how even the display can be that light.
You can carry. I know, right? The plastic that's in the display should weigh more. I think it has anti-gravity stuff in it, because I carry it under one arm like this, and I'm afraid it's going to go flying out of my hands and float off to the neighbor's house. So it's just crazy. It's just crazy how light those stuff are. Well, John, thanks for taking the time. I know you've got you're down south. You got some construction projects going on. You're working this weekend. You're out of your normal routine. So thanks for taking some time to be on here.
Yeah,
tonight.
absolutely.
If you need to, I can let you go and I'll close the show up, or you can hang around and we can do a little post show with some questions. What do you have time for?
I'm going to roll tonight because I've got a friend waiting in another room. And, he's been nice enough he's here to help me out.
Well, thank him for me, would you, for letting me keep you an hour and a half. I appreciate it, John. Thanks for coming on. We'll leave you to your
absolutely, and let me know next time you want to do this. I always enjoy it. You're great.
No, it's always great to have you. Thanks, John. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
It. You bet. Take care. Be safe.
Thanks.
Couple reminders on the way out before we do this. A couple reminders on the way out. One is if you want to join us in the Patreon group. Thanks for doing. By the way, John, thanks again for doing that. It's always great. I just love chatting with him. He is super fun and a good friend of the network. And I of course, I hope I'm a Channels customer and really enjoy it. It works out really well for the stuff that I do. Works even better for Sarah behind the scenes. So I like it, and if you haven't given it a try, you should. It's pretty great. Some pretty great stuff. You want to join us in the Patreon group? Head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. If you want to join us in the Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. I think I'm going to start a bourbon group in the Discord. We've got a cigars. It doesn't get very much conversation, but maybe we could do bourbon and cigars in the Discord. I don't know. What do you guys think out there? Although I'll be honest, not many. There's not many in that group that do that. So maybe it's not worth the time to get that done, or to get out there and do that. Big thanks to Christian over. In fact, I think Christian's on next week. Let's take a peek here. Yeah, Christian's with us next week. You're going to want to be here. Bob says, heck yeah, on the bourbon. So Bob, maybe I change it to cigars and bourbon in the Discord group. I'll get that done a little bit later tonight. And we can have that conversation. Christian's on next week. We're going to talk about LastPass and Bitwarden and some of the things that are going on in that password management space. He felt like that was a good conversation to have. So Christian will be joining us next week. That's the 19th of January, 2023. Ryan and Bob are fresh off of CES. They'll be here the week after. And then Uncle Marv is coming in on the 2nd of February to join us. So we've got some shows lined up. If you're listening to the recorded version of this, I'd sure love to have you come out and join us live. It's just Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. You know how this works. You listen every week. Why not come out on a Thursday night and join us? 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific. I know it's easy. It's a little early for you West Coast folks, but I'd love to have you come out and join us live and be a part of the conversation. We've got a lot of fun stuff going. Got some plans for 2023. I don't know what they are, but there's some plans coming up. Having a good time with this, and appreciate you guys and all that you do to make sure this works and works well. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. Would love to have you a part of it. Thanks for everybody who came out. Uncle Marv, Brian, Bob, producer Bob, Jay for coming. Oh, Jay said he'd join in bourbon for sure. So yeah, well, Bob says smoky things. Yeah, maybe that'll up that channel a little bit in our Discord group if we add bourbon to the cigars channel a little bit. Maybe it's a little more common. I think it is as well. Come out and join us live. So Bob, Uncle Marv, Joe was out there. Jay, thanks for coming out. Tony a little bit earlier. Ken was always the first. Ken is always the first. I don't think anybody can beat Ken to the evening guys, he says in the chat room each week. He's out before everybody. If you're listening live and you got any questions for me, you can throw those in chat. I'll stay around for a smidge in a post show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. All right, friends. Well, that was fun. Appreciate John giving up his time for that. That's always awesome. He fits the demographic pretty well. Any thoughts, guys? Anything you want to any questions for me or comments in general? Brian says he's looking forward to, I think that's maybe to the conversation with Christian. Marv's out here again, February 2nd. Uncle Marv will be joining us. I always enjoy spending time with him. He's birds of a feather flock together. So Bob says, what's creating the rainy windows behind you? Yeah. So I've got, it looks a little crooked, but I have a big 27-inch monitor. That's just a YouTube, a 10-hour YouTube of a rainy, I've had snow going back there. During the Christmas season, I think I had a fire going back there. I had a smaller monitor. I don't know what you guys think. I had a smaller monitor, maybe a 22-incher that fit in it. Maybe I could you can kind of see. There's the top of it, right? So yeah, it looks kind of crooked. I had a 22-inch monitor, and then I'm kind of lower. I don't like that look. Let's bring it back here. So I don't know if this smaller. I had a bigger monitor, and I thought maybe bigger is better, especially for showing these kinds of things. And so I don't know. What do you think? The goal is just to have every show, both this one and then Ask the Podcast Coach on. I guess I could raise my seat a little bit too. Ask the Podcast Coach on Saturday mornings. Was to have something like it'll be sunny when it's sunny outside, and it's a little rainy and misty outside. It's snow. It was snowing the other day. It's snow. So I don't know. Tell me what you think. Throw that in the chat. Yeah, it's just a YouTube channel that I find whatever. You can just search I searched rainy weather through a window 3 hours, and I found that on YouTube. And so Joe says he's in the process of migrating to Bitwarden, and I think I'm going to be too. I'm going to wait until after we have Christian on the program next week. I probably won't make any changes till I've talked to him about it. It's kind of one of those things. Brian says, yeah, been a Bitwarden user for a couple years. Will be good to hear his thoughts on using it. And for me, it'll kind of be like, how do I do the do I do self-hosting? Do I host that in the cloud? I don't know. Those will be some of the questions we ask Christian. Michael Delaney says, hi, Jim. Did he say that Channels would work with the HD Home Run? He did say that. They have an app specifically for the home run. If you just want to do it that way, you can run it off. And I think you pay $25 for that app. Michael, I prefer it running on a PC, the server instance running on the PC, and then I connect the PC to the home run, the HD home run, and do it that way. And no purchase, except if you want the DVR functionality, you purchase the $8 a month plan. So that works out pretty well. But they do have, I think they do have an app that you can go directly to the HD home run on. So it's a good question. Yeah, Bob, it's looking angled, and you're right. It is. I think that's because it's flat. Maybe I need to turn it that way. I think that probably works a little bit better. And then let's bring this back down to the top of it type deal. I think you're right. I think I need to just tilt that in that way. What I don't like is I don't like this spot down. I need to get like some black paper or something to kind of frame that up. I think that'd look a little bit better. He says remove the sticker from the top left. Kind of distracts from the window effect. Sticker top left. I don't have a sticker. Oh, there's you're talking bottom left right here. Yeah, that's part of the video. It won't show up for all of them, but shows up for some. I'm in test mode with it. I appreciate the feedback on it. You think bigger is better on this kind of thing, but that may not always. See, if you go this, this is the framing I like on the video. Good thing none of this will make the podcast, but then the monitor's too tall. So I got a little bit of work. To do on that. Brian says, funny, it's just looking at the monitor. Didn't know if it was a live view, but knew it must have been dark where you were. Yeah, no, I'm trying to create a little bit of that ambiance. I definitely have some framing to do. No, it's not a sticker. It's actually a picture that's behind. So my son, you can see from the very top up here. It's actually a hand-drawn portrait. It's not the right word, of Master Chief. He drew that when he was in high school, and I posted it on the wall there. So that's what you're seeing up there. But you're right. That's kind of interesting. I got some framing to do on that. Okay, good. I appreciate this. You guys are getting some good comments. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the other thing is there's this StreamYard, logo that you guys are seeing. I can't do anything about that. It's just part of the plan that I have. I have the $10 plan on StreamYard, and they put their branding up there. So maybe when I did the fire, I had a fireplace going. There's a lot more contrast, so it looked a little bit better on that from that perspective. It's I kind of want the screen to be, or I kind of want the camera frame to be there, and I kind of want my head to be there. That's kind of what I want. And so that monitor's too tall. That's the problem. If I could take it off the stand, that's not a monitor I could take off the stand. That's the problem. But if I could take off the stand and drop it straight to the, straight on the desk, maybe you're right. Maybe it's too big. Okay. Well, I'll do some continued work on it and get it all figured out. Thanks for that. It's just kind of fun to have something to kind of have a little window in that, something. I have to work on framing it up. So thanks for your feedback, guys. Appreciate it. All right. Well, no other comments. So I think unless you guys got anything else, thanks for getting me to kind of think about that. I've got maybe a little bit of work to do to get that done. I will see you next week. Christian will be here. Just a reminder, we got Bitwarden and LastPass. What a debacle that's been at LastPass. I feel bad for those guys. There isn't, they used to sponsor the show, and there isn't a single person left from those days. They're all gone, but it's too bad. I do really like the software. I'll be honest, I don't want to leave. I'm embedded in there, and I just don't. I like it. So Christian's going to have to do a really good job of convincing me to leave. Probably won't take too long, but I really like it. Yeah, Bob, you're right. VC came in and kind of, Night Marv, Uncle Marv, Night Jay. Good to see you guys. We'll see you next week. Come back and join us. See you. Take care, everybody.